I know you've written in not just one genre, not two, not three, but several, and I'm amazed that you are conversant in all of those genres. And so tell me how that's worked for you. Is it good or bad?
I think it's good to be diverse. I think it's bad to confuse your readers. The first book, Castle Lake, was a ghost story set in the 1800s, and that's what introduced people to my writing. So that book did very well for me, and people really enjoyed it. And when this next book came out, they kind of expected more of the same, except the travelogue was instead a family drama between 1955 and 1996, and it was totally different than Castle Lake. And then after that, I went into science fiction fantasy with Fun City, and then a psychological thriller with April's Call. And then for the fifth book, it was Castle Lake #2.
Yeah.
But instead of being a ghost story again, I did an adventure mystery.
Yeah.
So it still wasn't received as well as Castle Lake, but better than some of the others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then since then, I've written some other different genres, dystopian young adult, and what I've called alternative history with The Anatomy of a Mermaid. So, and then of course my great-grandfather's story, which is more like a semi-biography. So, and then Castle Lake #3, we're back to the ghost story horror again, so I hope they can kind of get back.
Yeah. So what are you doing to market Castle Lake #3, the Grave Reckoning?
Grave Reckoning. As an independent author, we're really, as you know, really limited what we can do. I tried some radio spots for the very first time here in Woodstock, and some people heard them. I didn't really get me the sales I hoped, but it was just 3 spots. But I really couldn't afford to do a whole week of it. I've done print ads, which I felt haven't been as successful as I wish they had been. Mostly it's the internet. It's stuff like Goodreads, and it's my blog, and it's Facebook.
So that was my next question. Do you find that most of your book sales come from people in the local area, or out in the wide world through the internet?
Most of my paper books, I say, would be localized, people who know me. And then when I do trade shows, I sell a lot that way. And I'm on the World Wide Web through Kindle, through my ebooks. I've sold just over 500 copies of the original Castle Lake on Kindle.
Good.
So, you know, someone's reading me out there.
Yeah.
Now, the other books haven't been quite those numbers.
Yeah.
But it's a good start.
Yeah. So does that make you think that you need to stick with that genre?
Not necessarily.
Yeah. And that brings me to the next question. Why do you write? You know, what do you get from it?
It's an affliction. I don't know why I write. I kind of wish I didn't. No, honestly, if I could do anything differently, I wish I had maybe taken something in school for it, as far as I could be a little more educated on what I'm doing, because I'm still just learning as I do this. I'm a person who enjoys to read, has lots of ideas, and thought that I could put my own ideas in print. And I think with 11 books, I might be onto something.
Yeah, I think it's obviously inside you, isn't it? So you've got mostly Kindle editions on Amazon,
Yeah.
and what are your thoughts about Kobo, which is, I think 18% of ebooks in Canada are in Kobo, so I was told.
Well, unfortunately, I've done nothing on Kobo at all.
Yeah.
Now, it seems like I'm more limited on Kobo what I can do. With Kindle and Amazon, you are allowed to post reviews, and I don't find that on Kobo. I haven't been able to find where people can review a book once they bought it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There's nothing like that Amazon machine as far as having a wide variety of things. You can have your author page, and do you work hard at keeping those things up to date and so on?
I don't know if I work hard at it, but I try and keep them up to date, and my blog's tied in with my Amazon, or I'm sorry, my Twitter is. So if I post on my Twitter, then it comes up on my author page on Amazon.
Yeah, so do you have a website too, Tom?
I do have a website. I have to update it. I've been really tardy on my website. It's an old format by Yahoo, and I need to update it. So my blog's been my main thing, which was basically created for A Bigger World, which is the book about my great-grandfather. And that's what blog was for, but I've been using it for everything now.
Yeah.
And
what do you call your blog?
It's called A Bigger World. I think it's A-Bigger World. at Blogspot.
It's at Blogspot. Yeah, that's one of the. I used to have a blog at Blogspot, and now my writing blog is at WordPress. And I really switched just because when I started my writing blog about 5 years ago, I wanted to differentiate because the blog I did at on Blogspot was really more personal stuff and so on. So when you start to set your self out there as a writer, you want to be known. The marketing people tell you, you know, that you need to use the same name. So I always use Elaine Cougler, you know, and you know all.
And I've confused my readers again because I've gone back and forth between Thomas A. Ryerson and Tom Ryerson.
Yeah.
And on Goodreads, which I use, I had to create two different personalities because I couldn't do both on the same page. So some people think it's my ego. I have two Goodreads things. But as far as my blogs and all my different things, if a person starts on my page at Amazon, Thomas A. Ryerson, at Amazon.com, and finds my author page, there's links off that to everything.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good place to start. And I just should update my website too.
You know, the more you learn, the more that you find you do have to update these things. Have you found that?
I usually update them for events and a new book and that kind of thing.
Well, I was thinking about I use my webpage as my main place where I send people, unless I send them right to my Amazon books. But I used to send everybody to my blog, but now I send them to my webpage where my books are, and they can then link to my blog from there. Mm-hmm. But I find the more I learn that I change things around. So that's kind of what I was getting at there. That it's just a process.
Yeah. Well, I think my website should be my home site, and then everything should branch off from there. But
yeah.
It's just because it was one I created myself on Yahoo.
Yeah, and you just need to. I think we're all.
Get my times.
Yeah, we're all afflicted with that. We do what we can ourselves, and then the more we look at it, you know, we see things that we think we could change and so on. And it's you must be a bit of a perfectionist too. I don't think you can be an author and not be a bit of a perfectionist. But I just had one more question. I think you have very little time to write, and yet you accomplish all of these things because you have your full-time day job. Mm-hmm. And talk about that.
When I'm writing a book, I just set aside time. Usually my best time for me to write is in the evening. Mm-hmm. So I would set a time, maybe 7 o'clock to midnight, and you just got to discipline yourself to work on that block. Mm-hmm. And just stay at it. The writing process usually takes me around 3 to 4 months, and then there's the editing process is about 2 months.
Yeah, and how many words would this book be?
That is a question I would have known. I used to put it in the front, but I don't think I do anymore.
So when
I think I'm just over 100,000 words.
Yeah.
My goal was 115,000, and I think I may be like 105,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
It works out to 260 pages or 270 pages.
And so when you're formatting the interior of your book and so on, what font did you, what size font did you
use? It's
use?
11 is the font I felt that people assume can read all right, and it's Garamond.
Oh yeah.
Garamond 11.
Yeah. I had another friend of mine.
It's 12, I fibbed.
It's 12?
Yeah,
Garamond 12?
yeah.
Yeah, and it depends what the font is for what the size is too, because Times New Roman 12 is different than Garamond 12. Yeah.
And with Travelogue, I used an 11 font because it was a big book. It was still 376 pages, and an 11 font. And I had people complain because it was too small, so that's why I decided to stick with 12.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, that another friend of mine gave me his book, and it was an excellent book. But I wear my glasses so that I can see down the road, and I see better up close without them. But I had to sit under bright light to read that book because he did it in 10-point font.
Ooh.
And I found that really tricky, and I thought, well, what about people that don't see as well as I do up close, you know, because, I mean, I always read with my glasses off,
yeah.
You know, so. Anyways, this has been a real pleasure,
Thank you.
and I'm so glad that you came to be interviewed, and I wish you well with your books.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. I
Oh,
appreciate that.
not a problem.